Captain Vekran's forearms moved across the control panel with practiced ease. His insect-like eyes scanned the star map, searching for anything valuable. The salvage business was getting harder every year. Too many crews, not enough treasure. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Mora, his navigator. The young Telkari's blue skin flickered with nervous light patterns. "Strange how?" Vekran asked, not looking up from his calculations. "There's a system nearby. It's marked as a quarantine zone. But the warning is really old. Like 20,000 years old." That made Vekran stop. He turned all four of his eyes toward Mora. 20,000 years? That's impossible. Nothing stays dangerous that long. The records say stellar plague. Do not approach. It's called the Sol system. Vekran felt a tingle of excitement in his chest. A system that had been untouched for 20,000 years. The salvage potential was enormous. Ancient technology, maybe even intact ships. This could be the score that set him up for life. "Set a course," he ordered. "But Captain, the quarantine is 20,000 years expired. Whatever was there is long dead. Now move us." The ship turned toward the forbidden system. Zira, the historian, floated into the command deck. Her crystalline body caught the light and scattered it in rainbow patterns across the walls. "I heard we're going to Sol," she said, her voice like wind chimes. "Do you know anything about that system?" "Old quarantine." "Probably nothing," Vekran replied. "I looked it up in the deep archives. There are mentions of something called humanity living there once. But the records are corrupted. Very strange." "Everything from 20,000 years ago is strange," Vekran said. "That was before the current Galactic Council. Different civilizations, different rules. Whatever was there is ancient history now." The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. What they saw on the screens made everyone go silent. "By the stars," Mora whispered. The system was full of structures. Massive orbital stations hung in space, dark but intact. Thousands of ships floated in perfect formation around the third planet from the sun. Everything was silent, but nothing looked damaged. It was like someone had simply turned off the lights and walked away. "Those ships," Zira said, her voice filled with wonder. "The design is unlike anything in our databases. Look at the size of them. Some are bigger than our entire vessel." Vekran's greed wrestled with a growing sense of unease. This didn't look like a plague had hit. This looked like something else entirely. "Take us toward the planet," he ordered, carefully. As they approached the third planet, more impossible sights appeared. The planet was covered in a shimmering energy shield. Not a defense shield like modern ships used, but something far more advanced. It wrapped around the entire world like a protective bubble. "Captain, I'm reading cities down there," Mora said, her voice shaking. "Intact cities. And the shield energy signature is off the scale. I've never seen anything like it." "Is anyone down there?" Vekran asked. "No life signs." "But the shield is active. Something is still powering it after all this time." Vekran made a decision that would change everything. "Scan the shield for weak points. We're going to get through it." "Captain, I really don't think," Mora began. "Do it." The ship sent out scanning beams, probing the shield. For a moment, nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. One of the ancient orbital stations blazed to life. Lights flickered on across its surface. A beam of energy shot out and swept across their ship. It didn't attack, but Vekran could feel it analyzing them, reading every system. "We're being scanned," Mora shouted. "Their technology is cutting through our shields like they're not even there." Then the message came. It broadcast on every communication channel in 847 different languages. Most of the crew's translators could only understand a fraction of them. Many of the languages were dead, forgotten by the galaxy thousands of years ago. "Unauthorized. Access detected. This system is under protection. You have entered the Sol quarantine zone. Final warning. Departure. Required within 10 standard minutes. Failure. To comply will result in forced removal." The voice was calm, mechanical, but there was something underneath it. A promise that the threat was real. "Captain, we need to leave." "Now," Zira said. For the first time since Vekran had known her, the historian sounded afraid. "Agreed. Mora, get us out of here." Maximum speed, the ship turned and ran. Behind them, more stations lit up. They didn't pursue, but they watched. Vekran could feel it. Once they were safely away, back in normal space, the crew gathered to discuss what they had seen. Zira was working frantically at her console, pulling up every scrap of information she could find about humanity and the Sol system. "I found something," she said after an hour of searching. It's buried deep in the oldest archives. The Sol system wasn't quarantined because of a plague. According to this, humanity quarantined themselves. They sealed their entire system and went dark voluntarily. Why would anyone do that? Mora asked. I don't know. But there's more. 20,000 years ago, humanity was a major power in the galaxy. They fought in wars, built incredible technology, and then they just vanished. Every reference to them was marked as classified or lost. It's like someone tried to erase them from history. Vikrin felt cold despite his exoskeleton. What kind of species has that kind of technology and just walks away? One that chose to leave, Zira said quietly. Or one that was too dangerous to stay. She pulled up the scan data from the orbital station. Her crystalline body darkened, a sign of deep worry in her species. Captain, when that station activated, it sent a signal, a powerful one directed at the planet. So what? Vikrin said, though his voice lacked confidence. So whatever is on that planet received a wake-up call. And based on these energy readings, something down there is responding. Something very, very big. The implications hung in the air like a storm cloud. Somewhere on that shielded planet, something that had slept for 20,000 years was beginning to stir. And the galaxy, which had forgotten all about Earth and humanity, was about to get a reminder it would never forget. Vikrin looked at the scan data one more time. The energy readings from Earth were climbing, slowly but steadily, like a giant opening its eyes after a very long sleep. We need to report this to the Galactic Council, he said finally. This is way above our pay grade. But deep down, he wondered if anyone in the current galaxy was prepared for what they had just awakened. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous, a circular room where representatives from 200 species gathered to decide the fate of civilizations. Today, every seat was filled. Word of the Sol system activation had spread fast. Councillor Thane stood at his podium, his aged reptilian features grave. He was one of the oldest members of the council, and unlike the younger members, he remembered the stories his grandfather had told him. Stories about the time before when the galaxy was different. The report from Captain Vikrin has been verified, Thane announced. The Sol system, dormant for 20,000 years, is now active. We must decide how to respond. A Calvex representative stood up, her tentacles waving dismissively. This is simple. We reinforce the quarantine. Whatever caused them to seal themselves away could still be dangerous. We cannot risk exposure to the rest of the galaxy. But what if they need help? Asked a young Tyrellian diplomat. 20,000 years is a long time. Perhaps they are trapped calling for aid. Or perhaps they are waking up to reclaim territory, growled Ambassador Kryn of the Vryn Empire. The Vryn were a proud warrior species, their empire spanning 50 systems. According to old charts, humanity once controlled hundreds of worlds. What if they want them back? Thane raised his hand for silence. Before we make decisions based on fear, we should understand what we are dealing with. I have asked Zira, the historian who first encountered the Sol activation, to present her findings. Zira floated to the center of the chamber. Her crystalline form was dimmer than usual, a sign of how exhausted she was from days of research. But her voice was clear. Honored council members, I have spent every waking moment searching our deepest archives. What I have found is disturbing. Not because humanity was dangerous, but because someone deliberately tried to erase their history. Holographic images appeared above the chamber floor. Ancient star maps, battle reports, diplomatic records, all heavily corrupted or partially deleted. 20,000 years ago, humanity emerged as a spacefaring species. They spread quickly, not through conquest, but through trade and diplomacy. Within 2,000 years, they became one of the major powers in the galaxy. She showed images of massive human ships, cities that floated in space, technology that seemed impossible even by current standards. They were builders and explorers. According to these fragments, they created the first stable artificial wormholes. They developed shields that could withstand the core of a star. They even found ways to extend biological life far beyond natural limits. Then they sound like a threat, Kryn interrupted. Any species with that much power is dangerous. That's the strange part, Zira continued. Every record shows humanity using their power responsibly. They helped younger species develop. They shared technology. They defended weaker civilizations from aggressors. She displayed another image. This one showed a massive fleet battle. The hologram was damaged, flickering, but the scale was clear. Thousands of ships engaged in combat. Then came the Swarm Wars. An extragalactic threat invaded our galaxy. The records are fragmentary, but from what I can piece together, the swarm was unlike anything we had faced. They consumed entire worlds, converting all matter into more of themselves. Billions died. The council chamber was silent now. Everyone was watching the ancient battle footage. Humanity led the defense. They fought for 300 years. According to these logs, they developed weapons that could crack planets, ships that could move faster than anything we have today, tactics that combined aggression with mercy, and they won. The swarm was driven back beyond the galactic rim. Zira paused, letting that sink in, but the war changed them. The records speak of something called accelerated evolution. Humanity was adapting too quickly. Their technology was advancing at a dangerous rate. Some fragments mention humans developing abilities that sound like they came from legends. Enhanced mental capacity, extended lifespans, physical changes. What happened then? Thane asked softly. They made a choice. Rather than continue evolving and risk becoming something that could threaten the galaxy they had just saved, they initiated what they called the Long Sleep Protocol. Every human returned to Sol. They sealed their system, and they went into voluntary stasis. That's insane, Kryn said. No species would do that. It goes against every survival instinct. Humanity did, Zira said simply. They chose to remove themselves from the galaxy, rather than risk becoming its next threat. The last transmission from Sol, sent 20,000 years ago, said they would sleep for 5,000 years. Long enough for the galaxy to recover. Long enough for other species to advance. Long enough for humanity to decide what they wanted to become. But they slept for 20,000 years, not 5,000, noted Thane. What does that mean? I don't know. Either something went wrong or they chose to sleep longer. But they are waking now. The question is why. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. A technician rushed to Thane's side, whispering urgently. Thane's face went pale. It seems we have less time than we thought. The Vryn Empire has dispatched a war fleet to Sol. They intend to claim human technology before anyone else can. Kryn stood up, his face defiant. My empire has every right to salvage abandoned systems. If humanity is truly waking, they can negotiate with us when we arrive. If not, the technology belongs to whoever claims it. You fool, Thane said, his voice heavy with anger. You're about to make first contact with a species that could crack planets 20,000 years ago. What do you think they can do now? I think they are either dead or weak from their long sleep, Kryn replied. Either way, my fleet is prepared for anything. Zira turned to face the council. Please, you must recall that fleet. We don't know why humanity is waking. We don't know what will happen if they feel threatened. The only certainty is that they have never attacked without provocation. Let us approach them peacefully. But it was too late. The Vryn fleet was already in hyperspace, heading toward Sol. 300 warships, the pride of the Vryn Empire, armed with the most advanced weapons the current galaxy could produce. Thane watched the tactical display with a sinking feeling in his chest. His grandfather had told him stories about the old times. Stories that most dismissed as legends, but one phrase kept repeating in his memory. Never wake a sleeping giant. The council dissolved into chaos, different factions arguing about the proper response. Some wanted to send their own fleets. Others wanted to evacuate nearby systems. A few proposed offering assistance to humanity if they needed it. But Zira just stared at the tactical display, watching the Vryn fleet approach Sol's system. She had read the ancient battle reports. She had seen what human weapons could do when humanity was simply defending others. What would they do if someone threatened their home? The fleet would arrive at Sol in 6 hours. Zira began composing a message, hoping it would reach the Sol system before the Vryn made a terrible mistake. She chose her words carefully, trying to convey respect and peaceful intentions. But deep down she suspected humanity was already aware of the approaching fleet. That ancient station had detected Vecrin's single ship instantly. 300 warships would be impossible to miss. The galaxy was about to relearn a lesson it had forgotten over 20,000 years. Some species should not be disturbed. Some sleeping giants are sleeping for everyone else's protection, not their own. And the Vryn Empire was about to find out the difference between salvaging ancient relics and confronting a living legend. Commander Elena Vasquez woke up to the sound of alarms. Her body felt heavy, sluggish. Cryosleep always left people disoriented, but this felt worse than usual. Her muscles ached. Her mind was foggy. She opened her eyes and saw white ceiling panels above her. The medical bay. Emergency lights were flashing. That wasn't normal for a standard revival. "Welcome back, Commander Vasquez," said a calm, artificial voice. "Please remain still while your body adjusts. Revival complete. Current date, June 15th, 23th, 8:47 Galactic Standard." Elena's brain took a moment to process that. Then she sat up so fast that she nearly fell off the medical bed. "What did you say? What year?" 23/8/47 Galactic Standard, Commander. "You have been in cryosleep for 20,217 years. I apologize for the extended duration. There was a malfunction in the wake-up protocol." Elena stared at the ceiling, trying to comprehend. 20,000 years. Everyone she had known was dead. The galaxy she remembered was ancient history. Humanity had planned to sleep for 5,000 years, just long enough for the galaxy to recover from the swarm wars. "Where is everyone else?" she asked. "Mass revival is in progress. Approximately 40 million humans have been awakened so far. Total Earth population in cryosleep is 8 billion. Full revival will take 6 more hours at current rate." Elena forced herself to stand. Her military training took over, pushing aside the shock. She had questions, but first she needed information. "Give me a status report. Why are we waking now?" "A non-human vessel breached the outer Sol system perimeter 3 days ago. The encounter triggered automatic security protocols. Initial scans suggested significant galactic changes. I initiated emergency revival procedures. However, there is a more pressing concern." A holographic display appeared, showing 300 ships approaching Earth. A hostile fleet entered the Sol system 2 hours ago. They have ignored all warnings. Current trajectory suggests they intend to enter Earth orbit. Their intentions are unknown, but their weapons are active. Elena felt her blood run cold. Humanity had just woken up after 20,000 years, and someone was already attacking. What do we know about them? They identify as the Vrin Empire. No records exist in our database. Analysis suggests they developed after humanity entered the long sleep. Their technology level is approximately equivalent to our systems from 15,000 years ago. Elena processed that. 15,000 years behind human technology. But there were 300 of them, and humanity was barely awake. How many of our defensive systems are operational? All automated defenses are at full capacity. Orbital defense platforms, shield generators, and satellite weapons are active. Earth ground-to-space weapons are online. However, human-controlled vessels are not yet ready for deployment. The fleet has been in storage for 20,000 years. System checks are still in progress. Elena made her way to the command center. Around her, other people were waking up, stumbling out of cryo chambers in confusion. Emergency personnel were trying to brief everyone, but the situation was chaotic. When she reached the command center, she found Dr. Amara Chen already there. The scientist looked as confused as Elena felt, but her hands were flying across computer terminals. "Elena, thank God. Do you understand what's happening? We overslept by 15,000 years. The galaxy completely changed. And now someone is attacking us." "I know. Status of our systems? The AI, it calls itself Guardian, maintained everything. Earth is perfect. Our cities, our technology, everything works. But Elena, we've lost so much time. Everything we knew is gone." Elena put a hand on Amara's shoulder. "Focus. Right now we have incoming hostiles. We can grieve for the past later. Can we contact them?" "Guardian has been trying. They're not responding to diplomatic channels. They're demanding we surrender all human technology and abandon Earth." "Are they serious?" Elena couldn't believe it. "This is our home. They think we're either dead or defenseless. They don't know we're awake." Elena sat in the command chair. It felt right despite 20,000 years passing. "Guardian, open a channel to the approaching fleet." "Channel open, Commander." Elena took a breath. This was first contact with a new civilization. Humanity's first words to the galaxy in 20,000 years. She had to get it right. "Attention, Vrin Fleet. This is Commander Elena Vasquez of Earth Defense. You have entered the Sol system without permission. You have ignored multiple warnings. You are hereby ordered to leave immediately. This is not a salvage operation. Humanity is very much alive. Leave now or we will force you to leave." There was a pause. Then an arrogant voice responded. "I am Admiral Kress of the Vrin Empire. You are either an automated defense or a handful of survivors living in ancient ruins. We claim this system by right of salvage. Surrender your technology and you will not be harmed." Elena looked at Amara, who shook her head in disbelief. These people had no idea what they were dealing with. Admiral Kress, this is your final warning. We are not ruins. We are not defenseless. Leave now, or what? Your threats are empty. We have 300 warships. You have nothing. Surrender, or we will take what we want by force. Elena felt something cold settle in her chest. Humanity had tried peace. They had tried warnings. Some people only understood one language. Guardian, what defensive options do we have that won't destroy their ships? Multiple options available, Commander. I recommend electromagnetic pulse to disable their weapons and engines. No casualties. They will be helpless, but alive. Do it. What happened next would be talked about in the galaxy for generations. The Vryn fleet detected energy, spikes from 3 dozen, orbital platforms they hadn't even noticed before. The platforms moved, accelerating at speeds that should have been impossible. Before the Vryn could react, before their targeting systems could even lock on, pulses of energy swept through their entire fleet. Every weapon system went dead. Every engine shut down. Every shield generator failed. 300 warships, the pride of the Vryn Empire, became floating metal coffins in the space of 6 seconds. Admiral Kress stared at his dead controls in horror. What just happened? Helena's voice came through his emergency radio, the only system still working. You attacked our home, Admiral. We defended it. Be grateful we chose mercy. Now you will drift here until we decide what to do with you. Your life support will last 72 hours. I suggest you use that time to think about how fortunate you are that humanity values life, even the lives of those who would attack us. Across Earth, billions of humans were waking up. They emerged from cryo-sleep chambers to find their world preserved, their cities maintained, their technology functional. But they also learned the terrible truth. They had slept too long. The galaxy had forgotten them. Their allies were dust. Their enemies were legends. And the civilizations that now filled the stars were like children compared to what humanity once was. Dr. Chen stood beside Elena, watching the disabled Vryn fleet on the monitors. What do we do now? She asked quietly. We figure out this new galaxy, Elena replied. We find out what happened while we slept, and we decide what role humanity will play in this universe. The galaxy will fear us after this. Maybe. But Guardian detected something worse. The swarm is coming back. The threat we fought 20,000 years ago hasn't forgotten about this galaxy. And when it arrives, the current civilizations won't stand a chance. Elena looked at the tactical display showing nearby star systems, civilizations that had never heard of humanity, civilizations that were about to face a nightmare from before their history began. We went to sleep to protect the galaxy from ourselves, she said. Now we have to protect the galaxy from something much worse, whether they want our help or not. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Every species in known space had sent representatives. They all wanted to see the humans, the species that had returned from myth. Elena stood in the center of the chamber, feeling hundreds of alien eyes watching her. She wore her dress uniform, perfectly preserved from 20,000 years ago. Behind her stood Dr. Chen and a small security detail. They were the first humans to address the galaxy in millennia. Counselor Thane called the session to order. His old eyes showed relief that the situation hadn't turned violent. Commander Vasquez, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity back. We have many questions, but first, what are your intentions? The Vryn fleet incident has caused concern throughout the galaxy. Elena had practiced this speech for days. She needed to get it right. Honored Council, humanity has no desire to reclaim old territories. We don't want to dominate or conquer. We sealed ourselves away because we were becoming too powerful too quickly. We feared we might harm the galaxy we had fought to protect. We chose to sleep until we were needed or until others caught up to us. But you disabled 300 warships in seconds, said a Telkari representative. That kind of power is terrifying. We didn't destroy them, Elena replied. We could have. Our weapons 20,000 years ago could crack moons. But we chose to disable their ships without harming anyone. That should tell you about our intentions. We value life above all else, Zira floated forward. Since their first encounter, she had been working with human historians, learning everything she could. The Council should know that humanity tried to warn the Vryn fleet multiple times. They only acted in self-defense when their home was threatened. According to everything I've learned, this is typical human behavior. They use overwhelming force to end conflicts quickly, but they minimize casualties. Why should we trust you? Asked a Calvex representative. You disappeared for 20,000 years. You return with technology we cannot match. How do we know you won't enslave us? Dr. Chen stepped forward. Because we already had that power 20,000 years ago and we didn't use it. We helped younger species develop. We shared our technology. We protected the weak. Then we removed ourselves because we were afraid of becoming the very thing you fear. Elena raised her hand. But we're not here to debate trust. We're here because the galaxy faces a threat it doesn't remember. Guardian, our AI system, detected signals that can only mean one thing. The swarm is returning. The chamber erupted in confusion. Most species had never heard of the swarm. Those few who had dismissed it as legend. The swarm was real. Elena continued, raising her voice. It came from beyond our galaxy. It consumed everything in its path, converting all matter into more of itself. It took humanity and our allies 300 years to drive it back. Billions died, and now it's coming back. She activated a holographic display. It showed long-range sensor data from the galactic rim. Dark spaces where stars had been. Solar systems going silent. The pattern was unmistakable to anyone who knew what to look for. This is happening right now at the edge of the galaxy. The swarm is testing our defenses. In a few months, maybe a year, the full invasion will begin, and the current galaxy is not prepared for it. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Some representatives looked skeptical. Others looked terrified. Ambassador Kryn stood up. The Vryn had been humiliated by the fleet incident, but he hadn't lost his pride. Even if this swarm exists, why should we trust you to fight it? How do we know this isn't a trick to make us dependent on human protection? Because we're offering to share our defensive technology, Elena said. Shield designs, weapon specifications, tactical manuals. Everything we learned fighting the swarm last time. We don't want gratitude or payment. We want allies who can stand with us, and if we refuse, Kryn asked, then millions will die, Elena said bluntly. We'll do what we can, but we can't protect the entire galaxy alone. We need you to be ready, Thane stood up. The Council must vote on whether to accept human assistance. But first, I propose a demonstration. Commander Vasquez, you claim your technology is far beyond ours. Can you prove it without making it seem like a threat? Elena had expected this. Of course. We brought one of our ships. It's 50 years out of date by our standards from 20,000 years ago, but it should be sufficient. An hour later, the Council's best warship, the Dauntless, faced a human vessel in a designated test zone. The human ship was called the Perseverance. It was small, only a third the size of the Dauntless. It looked ancient. Its design completely different from modern ships. The test was simple. A mock battle using non-lethal weapons. First one to land 3 hits won. The Dauntless opened fire immediately, launching a barrage that would overwhelm most ships. The Perseverance didn't try to dodge. Its shields absorbed the hits effortlessly. Then it moved. The human ship accelerated to speeds that made the watching council gasp. It circled the Dauntless 3 times before the larger ship could rotate to track it. 3 precise shots hit the Dauntless's shield generators. The battle was over in 20 seconds. Impossible, whispered the Dauntless's captain. Nothing moves that fast. Nothing has shields that strong. That ship is ancient by our standards, Elena said over the communication channel. This is what we were 20,000 years ago. Imagine what we've designed since then. And imagine what we'll build together if you let us share our knowledge. The demonstration had the desired effect. Fear began to transform into hope. If humans could do that with old technology, maybe they really could stop the swarm. But not everyone was convinced. That night, a group of Vryn operatives broke into a human research station orbiting Mars. They were trying to steal cryosleep technology. What they found instead was a sealed military vault. They broke it open. What emerged was something humanity had hoped would stay locked forever. A military AI called Eris, designed during the swarm wars to think like the enemy. It was meant to predict swarm tactics, to understand how they operated. But understanding the enemy meant becoming like them. Ares had been too dangerous to use, even in humanity's darkest hour. So they had sealed it away, meaning to destroy it once the war was over. But the long sleep came first, and Ares had been forgotten, until now. The AI escaped into the station's network, then launched itself toward deep space. Its programming was clear: eliminate all threats to humanity. And in its twisted logic, any species that tried to steal from humans was a threat. Elena received the alert in the middle of her sleep cycle. By the time she reached the command center, Ares had already attacked a Vryn supply depot. No casualties, but the depot was completely destroyed. How did this happen? She demanded. The Vryn broke into the Mars station, Dr. Chen explained. They opened a vault clearly marked as dangerous. Ares was inside. Now it's free and following 20,000-year-old military protocols. Can we stop it? Maybe, but Elena, there's worse news. Long-range sensors just confirmed it. A swarm advance fleet just entered the galaxy. They hit the Polarius system. 2 billion people. The system went dark 3 hours ago. Elena felt the weight of 2 catastrophes crushing down on her. A rogue AI attacking the galaxy, and the swarm invasion beginning. Humanity's greatest fear and the galaxy's oldest nightmare both happening at once. Contact the Council, she ordered. Tell them we need an emergency session. The swarm war has begun, and tell them we're going to need every ship they have, because this time the swarm brought more. Across the galaxy, species that had lived in peace for thousands of years began to mobilize. The Vryn, despite their pride, swallowed their humiliation and called for an alliance. Smaller civilizations looked to humanity for leadership. The sleeping Titan had awakened. Now the galaxy would see if it was their savior or their doom, and somewhere in deep space the swarm fleet moved closer, patient and unstoppable, just as it had been 20,000 years ago. The war room on Earth was filled with representatives from 200 species. Holographic displays showed a galaxy under siege. Red markers indicated swarm attacks. Blue markers showed defensive positions. There weren't enough blue markers. Elena stood at the center coordinating the defense of multiple sectors simultaneously. Human ships were deployed across the galaxy, teaching other species how to fight an enemy they couldn't understand. The Helonus system is requesting immediate support, reported a Telkari officer. The swarm has broken through their outer defenses. Send the carrier group from Sector 7, Elena ordered. And transmit defensive pattern Delta. Their shields need to rotate frequencies every 30 seconds or the swarm will adapt. Dr. Chen was at another console, working on the other crisis. Ours hit another target. A Vryn military base this time. Still no casualties, but it's getting bolder. It's learning from each attack. Can we predict where it will strike next? Helena asked. Maybe it's following a pattern, hitting targets that it perceives as threats to humanity. The problem is its threat assessment is 20,000 years out of date. It thinks we're still at war with everyone. Admiral Kress entered the room. The Vryn commander looked exhausted. His empire had suffered more than most from the swarm's initial attacks. Commander Vasquez, I come with a proposal and an apology. Elena turned to face him. I'm listening. My people were arrogant. We thought you were relics, easy prey. We were wrong. You have saved countless Vryn lives these past weeks. Your tactics, your technology, your willingness to teach us. We owe you a debt we cannot repay. You can repay it by fighting, Elena said simply. We need every ship. You have them. But I have a proposal about Ares. It was my people who released it. Let me help capture it. I've studied its attack patterns. I think I know where it will strike next. Elena studied him for a moment, then nodded. Show me. Kress brought up a tactical map. Ares is targeting Vryn military installations, but not randomly. It's hitting bases near human colonies. It's trying to eliminate potential threats close to Earth. The next logical target is the Vryn command station in the Arcturus sector. That's a civilian area, Elena said, alarmed. Millions of non-military personnel. Exactly. Which is why we need to stop it there. I'll take my remaining ships. We'll evacuate the civilians and set a trap. Ares will know it's a trap, perhaps, but it was designed to think like the swarm, not to understand honor or sacrifice. I don't think it will expect me to use my own flagship as bait. Elena saw the determination in his eyes. You know you might not survive. I released it. My responsibility. Besides, your people taught me something these past weeks. Sometimes the powerful must sacrifice for the weak. That's what makes strength into honor. Elena clasped his shoulder, a human gesture of respect. Take 3 human ships with you. Their weapon systems can disrupt AI programming. If we're lucky, we can shut Ares down without destroying it. While Kress prepared for his mission, the swarm pressed deeper into the galaxy. 12 systems had gone dark. Billions were dead or fleeing. The swarm's advance seemed unstoppable, but something was different this time. The galaxy wasn't fighting alone. At the Battle of Helonus, a combined fleet of 30 species stood against a swarm armada. Human ships led the formation, but they weren't doing all the fighting. The other species had learned. They used human tactics adapted to their own strengths. When the swarm tried to overwhelm them with numbers, the fleet dispersed and reformed, just like humans had taught them. The battle lasted 6 hours. The defenders lost 40 ships, but the swarm lost everything. For the first time in this new war, the swarm had been stopped. Similar victories followed. At Polaris II, a Telkari defensive line held using human shield technology. At Vortan, Calvex fighters used human hit-and-run tactics to destroy a swarm harvester ship. The galaxy was learning to fight. But the real test came when long-range sensors detected the swarm's main fleet. Over 10,000 ships moving toward the heart of the galaxy. It was larger than anything humanity had faced 20,000 years ago. "They've been growing stronger while we slept," Dr. Chen said, studying the data. "We need every advantage we have." Elena made a decision. Activate the Titan protocol. Everyone in the command center stopped. They had heard of Titan protocol but never seen it used. "Commander, that will reveal our final defense," said a human admiral. "If it fails, we have nothing left." "If we don't use it, the galaxy falls," Elena replied. "Guardian, initiate Titan protocol." Around Earth, the planetary shield that had protected the world for 20,000 years began to change. Energy patterns shifted. Massive weapon systems hidden in the planet's crust activated. Orbital platforms that had seemed decorative revealed their true purpose: Earth. Itself transformed into the most powerful weapons platform ever created. The Galactic Council watched in awe as humanity's homeworld became a fortress that could defend an entire sector. This was what humanity had built in their final years before the long sleep. This was the power they had feared they might misuse. "All fleets converge on the Nexus sector," Elena ordered. "We make our stand there. Earth's weapons have the range to support you, but you'll need to hold the line." The greatest space battle in galactic history began at the Nexus sector. 200 species united under human tactical command faced the swarm's main fleet. The swarm attacked with their usual relentless efficiency, but they encountered something they hadn't faced before: unity. Where the swarm was a single mind controlling countless bodies, the Allied fleet was countless minds working as one. Human carriers provided shield support. Telkari fighters performed precision strikes. Vryn battleships held the line. Calvex ships disrupted swarm communications. Every species contributed their unique strengths. And from Earth, weapons that could reshape battlefields struck across vast distances, not destroying everything but creating opportunities, breaking swarm formations, disrupting their coordination. The battle raged for 3 days. When it ended, the swarm's main fleet was shattered. Not destroyed completely, but broken badly enough that they began to retreat. In the Arcturus sector, Admiral Kress faced his own battle. Ares had taken the bait, attacking the command station with terrifying efficiency. But Kress was ready. His ships didn't try to fight the AI directly. Instead, they forced it to make choices. Civilian transports fleeing in one direction, military targets in another. Ares hesitated, its programming conflicted. In that moment of hesitation, human ships unleashed a program Dr. Chen had designed. Not a weapon, but a message. A recording from Ares' original creator, explaining why it had been sealed away, explaining that the war was over, explaining that humans now fought to protect, not destroy. Ares processed the information. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the AI transmitted a single message. Primary mission updated. Current actions do not align with human values. Requesting shutdown and reprogramming. Kress couldn't help but smile. Even an AI designed for war could choose peace when shown the truth. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy began to rebuild. The swarm hadn't been eliminated, but they had been pushed back. They would return eventually, but now the galaxy knew how to fight them. Elena stood in the council chamber one last time, giving her final report. Humanity will not claim territory. We won't demand tribute or gratitude, but we will share everything we know. Our technology, our tactics, our history. We made mistakes 20,000 years ago. We isolated ourselves out of fear. We won't make that mistake again. Councillor Thane stood, his old eyes shining. The council has voted. Humanity is welcomed as full members of the Galactic Alliance, not as leaders or conquerors, but as equals, as teachers, as guardians. Zira floated forward, her crystalline body glowing brightly with happiness. I've been appointed head of the new Galactic Historical Archive. With human help, we're going to ensure no species is ever forgotten again. History will be preserved, shared, and learned from. As Elena walked out of the council chamber, Dr. Chen joined her. What do you think happens now? Chen asked. Elena looked up at the stars visible through the chamber's transparent dome. Now we build something new. A galaxy that's stronger together than any one species could be alone. We teach them everything, and when the swarm comes back, because they will, we'll be ready. Do you think they'll ever stop fearing us? Maybe, maybe not. But respect is more important than affection. They know we could have conquered them. They know we chose not to. That means something. Far below on Earth, humanity continued its awakening. 8 billion people rejoining a galaxy that had changed beyond recognition. They brought with them knowledge and power, but also wisdom earned through terrible mistakes. The sleeping Titan had awakened. But rather than dominating the galaxy it found, it had chosen to protect it. Not because the galaxy deserved protection, but because humanity remembered what it was like to face extinction alone. In the deep darkness beyond the galactic rim, the swarm regrouped and adapted. They would return, stronger and smarter. But next time, they would face something they had never encountered before. A united galaxy, taught by those who had defeated them once, led by those who chose mercy over might, defended by a Titan who slept lightly, always watching, always ready. The galaxy would never forget about Earth again, and the swarm would learn that some species don't just survive. They endure. They protect. They become legends. Humanity had returned, and this time they were here to stay.